I work at a fried chicken joint 5 days a week after school. Yet my parents say I'm lazy because I didn't vacuum the living room last night. Meanwhile, my twin sisters just came back from the mall with $300 worth of clothes, paid for by my mom. I'm 16. Let me say that again, 16. A junior in high school. But according to my parents, being the oldest in the house makes me responsible for all the electricity, water, and internet bills. When I tried to ask why, they just said, "You use your phone and computer all the time, don't you? Like the twins don't sit on TikTok for 8 hours a day." I guess I should start from the beginning. My name's Lena and I've been the responsible one for as long as I can remember. I'm the firstborn kid in our family, not by much, just a year older than my twin sisters Macy and Marley, who are 15. You'd think we were years apart based on how my parents treat us. Macy and Marley are cute, bubbly, and identical, always matching outfits, always getting compliments from neighbors. They post cute selfies, my mom reposts them, and the comments roll in. But me? I've always been the plain one. The one who helps out. It started small. When I was 12, I was expected to do the dishes every night. By 13, I was also doing laundry for everyone. Then, at 14, I was budgeting grocery lists. At 15, they told me I'd better get a job soon because adulthood doesn't wait for anyone. But they never said that to the twins. This year, everything snapped. A few months after I turned 16, our water got shut off. We went 2 days without showers. My parents were freaking out, yelling at each other, blaming the economy. Then my mom turns to me and says, "If you had a job, this wouldn't have happened." I was stunned. "What?" I said. "You're old enough now, Lena," my dad chimed in. "You use the water like everyone else. It's time you contribute." That night, I cried in the bathroom, ironically using the last of the water we had to wipe my face. I didn't know what to do, but the next day, I walked to every fast food place in town until someone finally gave me a trial shift. I was hired the next week. Now I work 5 to 6 evenings a week after school and both weekend days. I barely sleep. I do homework in the back hallway during break. My feet are always sore and I smell like fry oil. And guess what? I used my first paycheck, $173.89, to pay the electricity bill. I handed it to my dad, thinking he'd at least say thank you. He just nodded and said, "Good. Internet's due next week." I stared at him. "Are Macy and Marley paying anything?" He laughed like it was the funniest thing he ever heard. "They're kids." I opened my mouth to remind him that I am, too literally, a minor, legally not even allowed to vote. But I swallowed the words because I knew he didn't care. Neither of them did. The worst part is, I think my sisters know exactly how unfair this is. But they lean into it. Last weekend, while I was working the Saturday night shift, they posted selfies from their bedroom, new LED lights, new makeup, and a new vanity. My vanity, actually. It used to be mine before my mom gave it to them without asking. Then came the big slap in the face. My school had a field trip, an overnight science trip to the mountains. It cost $60. I saved for 2 weeks, putting away tips and coins, and finally had enough. But when I gave the envelope to my mom, she looked uncomfortable. "Oh honey," she said. "We're behind on the gas bill. I need this." I begged her. "Please, Mom. It's a school thing. I've been working every day for this." She didn't even blink. "That's life, Lena. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices." That same night, Macy came home with a brand new curling iron. Price tag, $75. I felt something break inside me. The twist came 2 days later when my shift manager pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay. She said I looked pale, like I was about to pass out. I told her I was fine. But later in the bathroom I fainted. Straight up blacked out. She called my parents. My mom showed up looking annoyed, not worried. "She's dramatic," she told my boss. "She just wants attention." But my manager didn't buy it. She asked me in private if things were okay at home. I hesitated. Then I told her everything. Not because I wanted to, but because I was so exhausted I couldn't stop the words from coming out. She didn't say anything right away. Just nodded slowly. Then she asked if I'd be okay if she talked to someone, maybe a counselor. I froze. "Am I in trouble?" I asked. She smiled gently. "No, sweetie. But this isn't right. You shouldn't have to carry this alone." I don't know what she did next, but a week later my school counselor called me in. She said she'd gotten a report. She asked if I was safe. I said yes, but then I started crying, really crying, the kind that hurts in your ribs. She asked if I knew what financial abuse meant. That was the first time I'd heard the term. But the second she explained it, something clicked. It's when someone uses money to control or exploit someone else, especially when that person is vulnerable. That night I Googled it. I read stories. Some were like mine. Some were worse. But all of them had one thing in common: people didn't realize it was abuse until someone told them. I think that's when the anger really started. I wasn't just overworked. I wasn't just tired. I was being used. And the people doing it were my own parents. I started keeping track. Every bill I paid, every hour I worked, every meal I skipped to save money, I wrote it all down in a notebook I kept under my bed. I also started listening more closely to the way my parents talked to me compared to Macy and Marley. My sisters were still getting rides to the mall, cash for Starbucks, and time to do nothing all day while I was cleaning the kitchen and trying to study for AP biology with grease stains on my elbows. The more I noticed, the more sick I felt. I tried to confront my parents one night. I waited until dinner, a frozen pizza that I bought, by the way, and said as calmly as I could, I don't think it's fair that I have to pay the bills when Macy and Marley don't do anything. My dad didn't even look up from his plate. That's your role, Lena. You're the oldest. That's how it is. They're only a year younger than me, I said. Why can't we split things evenly? My mom scoffed. You want your sisters to be stressed like you? You think that's fair? I blinked. You mean, like me? Stressed like me? You made me like this. My dad's face turned red. Watch your tone. And then Macy chimed in with a giggle. Geez, Lena. Maybe if you weren't so bitter all the time, people would actually want to help you. I stared at her. She was wearing one of my old hoodies, the one my grandmother gave me. I got up and left the room. Went straight to my tiny corner of the bedroom we used to share before they kicked me out to the converted laundry room so they could have more space. I sat on the floor and stared at my pay stub, $218.40. And I knew my dad was expecting me to hand it over the next day for the internet and part of the gas. I didn't. Instead, I walked to school the next morning and went straight to the counselor's office. Can I talk to someone legally? I asked. She didn't even hesitate. She got on the phone and called a youth advocate. Within a few hours, I had a meeting scheduled with someone from CPS Child Protective Services. I was scared out of my mind. I thought they'd take me away or accuse me of exaggerating. But the woman I spoke to, Monica, was calm, warm, and completely focused. She asked me to walk her through everything: when it started, what I was paying, how often. I showed her my notebook, my pay stubs, the bills with my handwriting on them, the text messages from my dad saying, bring the electric money this week or don't bother coming home. I remember her face. It changed slowly from neutral to quietly horrified. She looked at me and said, you've been made financially responsible for a household you're legally not supposed to manage. This is exploitation. I whispered, are they going to get arrested? Monica shook her head. Not yet, but we're going to start a file. And we're going to intervene. That week things exploded. 2 days after that meeting, a social worker showed up at our door. My mom called me at school frantic. What the hell did you do, Lena? I was shaking when I got home. The house felt cold. The lights were off, like someone had pulled the plug on our whole life. My parents didn't yell. They sat me down and started guilt-tripping. Why would you do this to us? My mom said. We were just trying to teach you responsibility. You embarrassed us, my dad muttered. You brought strangers into our home. You told them lies. I didn't lie. But saying that didn't help. The twins didn't say a word. They just hovered in the hallway listening. After the social worker left, things got worse. Subtler but worse. My mom started giving me the silent treatment. My dad slammed doors more often. The house felt like a ticking bomb and I was the fuse. No one thanked me for anything anymore, not even when I paid the gas bill that week. Just silence. Or worse, muttering behind closed doors. I thought maybe after everything they'd change. That they'd feel exposed or embarrassed enough to stop. But they didn't. If anything, they started acting like I'd betrayed them. You're not part of this family if you're going to act like we're monsters, my mom said one morning. Fine, I snapped. Then stop taking my paycheck. She did for exactly 2 weeks. And then the electricity got shut off again. When I refused to pay it, my dad called my workplace and tried to ask for my hours, said he was concerned I was overworking. He was trying to get them to dock my shifts. My manager called me in again. Lena, she said, this is messed up. I want to help. But I need to know. Do you want to stay in that house? I didn't know how to answer. I didn't want to be there. But I didn't know where else to go. I had no relatives nearby. My grandmother passed away when I was 11, and my mom never talked to her siblings. All I had was school, work, and a bed in the laundry room. And then the unexpected happened. Macy found my notebook. I guess I forgot to hide it one night. Or maybe she went through my things on purpose. But she read it. Every line. Every dollar I tracked. Every comment I recorded that our parents made. She left it open on my bed, underlined with a pink pen. You think you're better than us? She wrote on the last page. I was furious. Not just for the invasion, but because she didn't get it. She had everything handed to her. I was breaking myself to survive. I confronted her the next morning. You read my private stuff. Yeah, she said, unapologetic. It's all just you whining. You act like we're evil. You are, I said before I could stop myself. You just sit there and let them do this to me. She stared at me. Something in her face flickered, maybe guilt, maybe disbelief. But then she just shrugged. Maybe if you weren't so miserable, they wouldn't hate being around you. That was the day I snapped. I packed a duffel bag after school and walked straight to Monica's office. I told her I couldn't stay there anymore. She made a few calls. That night, I slept in a temporary foster placement with an older woman named Janice. Her house was small but clean. Her guest room had a twin bed with soft sheets and a lamp shaped like a moon. I cried that night. Not from sadness, from relief. Janice made me eggs in the morning. She asked if I needed help with laundry. She let me keep my own money. For the first time in a long time, I felt human. My parents were furious. They called every day for the first week. I didn't answer. Then they started messaging me through the twins' accounts. Then through my school email. Eventually, Monica told them to back off or face a restraining order. I stayed with Janice for 2 months while the investigation continued. During that time, something strange happened. Macy reached out. Just a text. You really left. I didn't reply. Then a few days later. Marley's scared. Mom's been yelling a lot. She says it's your fault. And then, I think, maybe you were right. That one I didn't know how to answer. At school, people started noticing. I wasn't walking around like a zombie anymore. I started smiling again. My grades went up. My friends, the few who stuck around, started inviting me places. I said yes. I even got a call from a local youth advocacy program, offering me a scholarship for college prep courses, just because someone had referred me after hearing my story. And then, after 2 months, I had a choice to make. CPS offered 2 paths. I could stay in foster care until I turned 18, or I could legally emancipate myself at 17 and gain partial independence if I could prove I had income and stability. I chose emancipation. With Janice's help and my manager writing a recommendation, I filed the paperwork. My parents fought it, of course, tried to say I was unstable, that I was manipulated, but the court didn't buy it. Not after seeing the documentation, not after reading the texts, not after Monica testified. At 17, I became legally responsible for myself. It felt terrifying and empowering. That same week, I got promoted at work. Assistant shift lead. Small raise, but big feeling. As for Macy and Marley, they didn't talk to me for months. But then one day, Marley showed up outside my job. She looked different, tired, worn out. She said, I think I get it now. They're making us clean. They want us to pay the water bill. I just nodded. She asked if she could sit with me during my break. I said okay. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. Marley didn't say much during our first break together. She picked at her fries and stared out the window of the small diner where I worked. Her hair was tied up in a messy bun, and she wore the hoodie I left behind, the one our grandmother gave me. I should have been mad, but I wasn't. Not anymore. After a long silence, she said, I didn't realize how easy we had it until they turned on us. They didn't turn on you, I said, keeping my voice calm. They just lost their scapegoat. Marley blinked. You really think they saw you like that? I looked her straight in the eye. What else would you call it? She didn't answer. Eventually, I asked how Macy was. She hesitated before answering. She's still mad. She says you abandoned us. That you blew everything out of proportion. I sighed. That sounded exactly like Macy. But, Marley added quickly, I think she's scared too. She doesn't know how to cope without you picking up the slack. I didn't know what to say to that. So I just nodded and asked if she needed a ride home. She shook her head. I walked. I wanted to think. I offered her half of my sandwich. She took it without saying thank you, but she ate it all. And when she left, she looked back and said, I'm sorry, Lena. I didn't stand up for you. I didn't even try. That night, I lay in my room, my own real room at Janice's, and stared at the ceiling for hours. It hit me then. Marley's apology didn't fix anything, but it mattered. It was more than my parents had ever given me. The next few weeks were quiet. I focused on school, work, and preparing for college. For the first time, I felt like my life was mine. Every dollar I earned, I got to keep. Every hour I studied, I did it for my own future, not because someone told me to earn my place. Then one day, I got a call from my school principal. Your parents have requested a conference, he said cautiously. They want to discuss the situation at home. I almost laughed. There is no situation at home. I don't live there anymore. He hesitated. They're saying you're influencing your sisters, encouraging rebellion. I let out a sharp breath. What exactly do they want from me? I'm not sure, he admitted. But they're asking for a meeting. You're not obligated to attend, but I wanted to give you the option. I thought about it for a few minutes. Then I said, I'll come, but not for them. For Marley. The meeting was set for that Friday. I didn't tell Janice until the night before. She frowned when I mentioned it. Are you sure that's a good idea? I don't know, I said honestly. But I need closure. She didn't try to stop me, but she made me promise I'd leave if it got toxic. When I walked into the school conference room the next day, my parents were already seated. My mother looked tired but still carried that air of righteous bitterness. My father sat rigid, arms crossed. Macy was on her phone. Marley sat in the corner, eyes low like she wanted to disappear. I stayed standing. The counselor opened with a neutral tone. We're here to create space for open dialogue and reflection. Lena, would you like to begin? I nodded. Then I looked at my parents and said, What do you want from me? My mom's mouth opened, then shut. My dad leaned forward. We want to understand why you felt the need to go outside the family, he said. Why you painted us like monsters. I laughed, a small bitter sound. You used me. You made me work full-time while I was still in school. You made me pay for utilities while the twins lived like princesses. You weren't forced, my mom snapped. You chose to help. You always wanted to be the responsible one. No, I said, voice hard. You chose to dump responsibility on me. You manipulated me into thinking I owed you my childhood. My dad's face darkened. You're twisting things. Am I? I pulled out my notebook, the one I kept documenting everything in. I brought it with me for this moment. This is every bill I paid. Every paycheck I handed over. Every night I worked instead of studying. You took my money. You called me lazy when I was supporting your household. And you let the twins live like royalty while I cleaned up after everyone. I turned to Marley and Macy. Did either of you ever once have to miss dinner because you were working a double shift? They were both silent. Macy, I pressed. She looked annoyed. So what, Lena? You're a martyr now. No, I said coldly. I'm just someone who got tired of being your unpaid maid. The counselor stepped in, trying to cool the tension, but I wasn't done. I didn't call CPS to punish anyone, I continued. I did it because I was drowning. And instead of helping me, you shoved my head further under. My mom's voice trembled. You could have just talked to us. I did. I cut in. Over and over. You didn't listen. You laughed. You called me dramatic. You chose not to hear me. Silence filled the room. Then, unexpectedly, Marley spoke. She's not lying, she said softly. They've been making us pay stuff now too. And yelling more. It's like, they don't know how to function without someone to blame. My mom turned to her in shock. You think she's right? Marley looked down but nodded. Macy rolled her eyes. Unbelievable. No, what's unbelievable, I said, is that it took me leaving for any of you to realize something was wrong. The counselor ended the meeting shortly after. There wasn't anything productive left to say. On my way out, I heard my mom crying. I didn't stop. That night I cried too. Not because I was sad, but because something finally felt finished. Over the next month, things shifted slowly. I didn't hear much from Macy, but Marley started visiting me on Sundays. Sometimes she'd just sit with me at the park. Other times she'd bring school books and ask for help. She even got a part-time job at a bookstore. One day, she told me she was saving up to move out when she turned 17. I told her Janice might have space and we could ask together. I don't want to be like them, she said quietly. You're not, I said. It's been almost a year now. I'm 18. I got accepted into a community college and will transfer to a university next year. I still work at the diner but fewer hours now. I sleep in on Sundays. I bought a used laptop. I joined a study group. I have friends. And Marley? She moved in with Janice last month. Macy stayed home. Sometimes I wonder if she'll ever change. But that's not my responsibility anymore. The last time I saw my parents was at a grocery store. My mom tried to talk to me. She started crying. Told me she missed me. That she didn't know what she was doing back then. I told her. That's the difference between us. I didn't know what I was doing either, but I still showed up. Then I walked away. I'm not writing this to get sympathy. I'm writing this because no one talks about financial abuse when it happens inside a family. No one talks about what it feels like to be the oldest and be treated like a third parent while still being a child yourself. So if you're reading this, and you feel like your childhood is being stolen under the guise of responsibility, you're not crazy. You're not dramatic. And you're not alone. You deserve to grow without guilt. You deserve to rest without owing anyone. You deserve to be a kid while you're still a kid. It's funny when you finally break free from something toxic, you expect to feel instant peace. Like flipping a switch. But healing isn't like that. It's not a switch. It's a slow, messy process. Some days I still wake up panicked, thinking I forgot to pay the water bill. Or that I'm late for a shift I no longer work. My brain is still wired for survival even though my reality has changed. But the difference now? I get to choose my life. My pace. My people. Marley is still living with Janice, and we've grown close again. It's different this time, more real. There's no competition. No unspoken hierarchy. She doesn't expect me to fix things. And she's trying. She's learning how to take care of herself, how to budget, how to be accountable. Last week she cooked dinner for us for the first time. Burned the garlic bread, but we ate every bite. I told her it was perfect. She smiled like it meant the world. Then she told me something that shook me a little. Macy might be pregnant. I froze, fork halfway to my mouth. She hasn't told Mom yet, she said. She's terrified. I didn't know how to respond. Part of me felt nothing. Another part, a smaller part, felt a tight pang of worry. Not for my parents. Not even for Macy. But for the baby. For what it might mean to grow up in a house like that. Do you want me to talk to her? I asked carefully. Marley shook her head. Not yet. I just thought you should know. A week later, Macy messaged me for the first time since the school meeting. Hey. No other context. No apology. No build-up. I stared at the screen for a full minute before responding. Hey. Then came the long message. A wall of text. She told me everything. How things fell apart after I left. How our parents tried to tighten their grip. How they turned on each other. How money got worse. How our dad lost hours at work. How our mom tried to make her get a job and how she refused. She said she resented me for leaving because she thought I abandoned them. But now she understood. You were the buffer, she wrote. Without you, they turned the spotlight on us. I thought you were selfish. But you were the only one who ever stood between them and us. Then the part that stopped me cold. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. She said she wasn't pregnant after all, just late and scared. But it made her think. Made her realize how fragile everything was. How quickly her perfect world cracked once she had to carry even a fraction of what I'd been holding for years. I want to fix things. Can we talk? I didn't respond right away. Not because I was angry, I wasn't. I just needed time. I read her message over and over again for 3 days. I thought about how she used to mock me. How she watched our parents grind me into the dirt and never said a word. How she wore my hoodie and spent my money and never once said thank you. But then I thought about how I used to sneak her snacks after school. How I helped her practice presentations. How I kissed her forehead when she cried over dumb boys. How, despite it all, she was my sister. So I said yes. We met at a quiet park we used to go to as kids. She looked smaller than I remembered. Less sure of herself. She brought me a coffee. I brought her one too. We laughed at that. She cried before she could get through her first sentence. I didn't know, she said. I really didn't. I was a brat. I was cruel. I'm so sorry. I told her. I'm not here for revenge, Macy. I'm here because I want peace. For both of us. We talked for hours. About our childhood. Our parents. What we lost. What we could still rebuild. She told me she was thinking about leaving too. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. I told her I'd help when she was ready. For the first time, she didn't push me away. That night, Marley, Macy, and I ate dinner together at Janice's. It was strange, like stepping into a parallel life, one where we weren't enemies. One where we were just 3 sisters trying to survive the wreckage we came from. Janice gave Macy the guest room for the weekend. She cried too. I'm not saying everything is fixed. It's not. Our parents haven't changed. They still call, still send guilt-laced messages. But I don't answer anymore. I gave them enough of me. They don't get the rest. What matters now is us, the 3 of us. We're writing new rules. New boundaries. We're redefining what family means. Marley started painting again. She even got a piece displayed at a student exhibit. Macy's thinking about community college. She's working part-time at a cafe, finally understanding what it means to earn something. As for me, I'm still working hard, but now it's for me. I'm planning to major in psychology. I want to help other kids like me, the invisible ones, the oldest daughter types who carry their homes on their backs and are told it's just love. Because it's not. Love doesn't demand your childhood as payment. Love doesn't gaslight you into servitude. Love doesn't hurt you and call it responsibility. Sometimes people say, but they're your parents. Like that's supposed to excuse everything. But being a parent is a role, not a get-out-of-jail-free card. I still believe in forgiveness, but I also believe in accountability. So if you're someone reading this and you feel seen, if your parents treat you like a tool instead of a person, if you're always the one holding the house together while your siblings skate by, if you're exhausted and no one seems to care, please hear me. You are not crazy. You are not weak. And you are not alone. There's life beyond the guilt. There's life beyond the laundry lists and overdue bills and silent dinners filled with resentment. You deserve joy. You deserve rest. You deserve to be the main character in your own story. And no, you are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are finally free.